So in the past few weeks, something happened in Overwatch. I was on vacation and I came back after missing the first week of the Overwatch League to talk about a player that I had never heard about. Now I'm talking about Poko on the Philadelphia Fusion. He was relatively unknown before, I didn't know who he was. When I came back, everyone was touting him as the best D.va, and his play was something that had never been seen before. He did something with D.va's ultimate that people didn't really think was possible. Before, it was used as zoning at most. It was a crapshoot if you could get any kills, but Poko was able to find a way to get consistent kills with it, and he was really carrying his team with these effective ultimates. Now the point of this video is about other ultimates that are being used ineffectively, in my opinion, and that have areas to be improved upon. So I'm going to be separating them into two different categories. The first category is going to be ultimates that need to be practiced more and in a unique way in order to become more effective, and ultimates that need to be refined or they need to be innovated in a way. So what makes Poko so impressive with his D.va ultimate play is that he's done both of these things. He's found a way to use it more effectively, and he's also gone into custom games and he's really grinded it out, the mechanics side of it, so that he could be the best at launching these D.va bombs in the best positions. So that's why we're hearing so much about this guy, is because he took an ultimate that was used so ineffectively in both of these separate categories that I've created, and he's found a way to improve both of them, and that's why we're seeing him being so much better at using the ultimate than anyone else in his league. So the first one I'm going to talk about is Winston's ultimate, Primal Rage. Now when the game first came out, Primal Rage was considered the worst ultimate in the game, and that's because it's a really weak ultimate if you don't really have an idea of what you're trying to achieve with it. The reason I say that it needs to be practiced more effectively is because I believe that Winston's ultimate could be really effective if players, and what you see Winston players fail to do is use this juggling to their advantage. What most Winston players try to do is that they just want to jump in the middle and deal as much damage as they can with each swipe. So they're trying to hit multiple targets and they're not achieving anything by this. The best way to use the ultimate is to single out individual heroes, and you want to practice your juggling so that you can chase them down, you can separate them from your team, and using this you should be able to use Primal Rage to be much more effective and to even get kills with it if you can single out 200 HP heroes. The other thing that I wanted to pair with this is something that I've seen most Winston mains fail at doing, is something a lot of players don't know, is when you use the jump pack, your impact damage, it deals less damage the farther you are away from the target. So if you land directly on them, it does, I'm not sure the damage, 50 I think is right, and it goes down. So what you see Winston's doing in Primal Rage is they'll be in midair and then they'll try to use their primary attack and swing, and it'll push the target away from the impact damage, and they're reducing their damage by doing this. What you can do is wait until you actually deal impact damage and then hit them again. And the other benefit of that is that your jump pack cooldown is a little bit lower, so that if you're waiting to actually impact them and then hit them, you're more likely to have your jump pack up again to be able to chase them to wherever you put them. Using these two things and a lot of practice in custom games, you should see Winston mains being able to knock their targets backwards and chase them down and being able to get actual kills with their ultimate, making their ult more effective. The second one I wanted to talk about is kind of related to this. It's again a juggling mechanic, but with a Roadhog. Now we're seeing a lot of Roadhog because he has synergy with Orisa, with the halt ability, and his hook, of course, and also with Orisa, there kind of shifts the battle into a shield battle, so Roadhog's really good at destroying shields, so they go hand in hand, and on maps where you want to do a shield battle, you can pretty much expect to see Roadhog and Orisa as well. So with Roadhog's ultimate pretty much sucks. The way pros use it is that they just try and use it as a burst damage tool, so that if a target's really close to them, they'll pop the whole hog and they'll try to deal the instant amount of damage in headshots before knocking them away. The problem is that if they don't manage to get the kill with the burst damage from right at the start, then they're knocked way out of their reach, they're not able to deal damage to them, and they've effectively done nothing. So what I suggest that people are going to have to practice in custom games is practice the juggling with Roadhog Ultimate. Now, this means positioning yourself in a way so that if you bounce them backwards, which they're not pushed so far away that you can't deal damage to them. The other thing is that you should be aware that your goal is to push people back, so you're trying to separate different members of the team. So let's say there's a part of the map where there's a divide, or there's just a different pathway to the right as to the straight. What you might want to do is try and push one target down this way and one target down this way, so that they're separated, and get your team to follow up. So instead of trying to use it for damage, you're using it as a tool. And in order to do that, Roadhog players are going to need to go into practice games, and they're going to need to practice juggling and really aiming, as well as using their movement and expecting their opponent's movement in order to push them in the direction they want to go. There's one more skill that needs to be practiced in order to be more effective, and that is Tracer's pulse bomb. Now recently, Tracer players have started doing this thing where they'll blink melee in it for instant damage for kills. It's especially important in Tracer versus Tracer battles, because if you're able to land the melee before the other one, then you're more likely to win the duel and kill the enemy Tracer. Now, in order to pull this maneuver off where you blink melee, you need to know the exact distance that your blink ability goes to, and then the smaller distance that your melee can actually travel to. And you'll see Tracers that are really good. If they're too close to the target, they'll blink and then instantly do a 180 in order to melee and get the final blow on. But this is something that they're able to practice in just regular ranked games. The difference with the pulse bomb is that you can't really do this in an active game, because you only charge your ultimate every minute or so, so you only have an opportunity to practice every minute. If you go into a custom game, you can practice the distance. And why it's especially important with pulse bomb is that if you blink to a target and you're the perfect range away and then pull out your pulse bomb, it's a surefire hit. Because their hitbox, if it's directly in front of you, if you're here and he's here, then it's really easy to stick onto that target. But that's something that needs to be practiced, and it's something that you need to go into a custom game to have the opportunity to practice quick enough so that you get the memorization down, you know the distance to a T, and you know where to put your crosshair depending on where the target is moving. Now on to the second category, which is ultimates that need to be refined. So in order to relay this back to Poko and what he did, this would be him going on the map and looking where teamfights are going to happen and where a D.va bomb will be most effective, where there's no escapes, where he thinks that people will run away. This is something that can be done outside of the game, but needs to be understood in order to elevate your play the way that he has. So the first two ultimates are very similar to D.va bomb in a way that they could be improved by really sitting down, looking at the map, and looking at distances. I'll tell you what the ultimates are so it's less confusing. Hanzo ultimate is the best example. Right now it's used, it has a cast time of 1 second, and it lets off this voice line, and everyone who's on the opposing team that hears it tries to run away. So Hanzos try to estimate where they're going to run to and try and hit that person. And I think that this is definitely the wrong way to use it. I think that the best way to use it is to block off areas of the map where escapes are. So if you want to be a better Hanzo player, you're going to have to look at the map, and you're going to have to see where escapes are and what distance they are and how wide the Dragon Strike is, so that you can kind of get a good idea of where you can launch it. You can eliminate these escapes, and you can take a team fight into the enemy team where they cannot escape from you. So this would be useful if you have more ultimates than they do, or if you're in better positions, and then you can launch off this Dragon Strike, and then they either have to fight you and lose, or they have to run through the Dragon Strike and lose. This is why I think it's the best. The second one that's very similar to that is Maze Ult. Maze Ult covers a large area, but right now it's kind of just used by running into the enemy team, dropping it on the ground, and trying to stun as many as possible. I think that in the same way as D.va Bomb or Hanzo's Dragon Strike, there are areas of the map that you can put it down that will cover the maximum surface area on the ground that will cover escapes, so that you're able to get better stuns. Now, Maze is not that popular, neither is Hanzo, but it's possible that they would become more popular if there was a better way to use their ultimates. And I think that's something that pro players need to sit down and look at the map, look at the approximate size of Maze ultimate, and try and decide where the best areas of the map are to drop it. Another ultimate I'd like to see used more effectively is Widowmaker's. I think Widowmaker's ultimate should be one of the most powerful in the game, but the problem is that pro players only use it so that they can line up headshots when players run out from behind walls. That's pretty much the only use for it. They use it almost off cooldown. I think that's absolutely stupid, and what should be happening is pro players use the ultimate and they look at the enemy's position and they try to figure out how they can counter their positioning with the heroes that they have. Most times players will pop Widowmaker's ultimate and they will not change their game plan. They will do the exact same thing they were going to do regardless of the positioning, and granted they could estimate where they're going to be pretty accurately because of scrims and watching VODs of them playing, but I think that if you have the exact positioning, you can know maybe someone's slightly out of position and you can try and capitalize on that. Another ultimate that needs to be refined a little bit is Moira's ultimate. People use it to combo with Graviton Surges, which is just ridiculous to me because it deals about the same damage as Winston's Tesla Cannon. So you're using an ultimate when you could just have your Winston jump in there, and that's not even good enough damage. There needs to be a better way to use Moira ultimate. People need to find a way, and maybe they plan their comps around it and plan their engagements where they're in a line. One thing about Moira's ultimate is that you never want to use it when your team has the possibility of falling back, because if any characters try to get behind Moira, like they're getting to cover after taking a lot of damage, then she will have to turn around to heal him, and then she won't be able to heal anyone in front. I think that there needs to be some way that teams can prepare about lining up in a certain way so that she can get maximum healing while still dealing damage. At its core, I believe that it's a healing ability. It's like a longer range Zenyatta ultimate that also deals a little bit of damage. And I think that it could be really effective, but right now it's basically worthless and nobody's using it right. The final ultimate that I have here is McCree in 76. I think that both of their ultimates right now are used pretty ineffectively. Soldiers is a bit better, but I'll explain before. Right now, what McCrees do when they get their ultimate is they try to get to high ground and then they pop it so that they can get as many skulls lined up in a row, and then they try to get one kill from it. And I think that this is really dumb and it doesn't make a lot of sense, and it could be a lot more effective. Now, the way that this would be possible is what McCrees have to do is play games, and they need to recognize once certain key characters reach a point in the open space where they cannot retreat without dying. This is something that needs to be done for pro players in scrims or in competitive play. It can't be done in custom games because you have to be aware of the enemy team's positioning in order to know when they can fall back safely or not. Soldier, he's similar but different because normally he'll chase down heroes and he's able to move a whole lot more quickly than McCree is. So if he does activate it in a poor position, he's punished less. But this is something that should be practiced as 76, because if you're able to get good positioning off before you actually go in, then you'll be more successful. You won't have to chase people down and you won't have to put yourself in a bad position to chase them down. Thank you for watching this video. I hope that you enjoyed it. If you feel like I left something out of the video or you want to create further discussion, please leave a comment. Again, thank you for watching, and I hope that you learned something.